Clemson Tiger fans, welcome back to another episode of the Clemson Sports Show. I'm your co-host, Joseph Hastings. Joined alongside me, as always, is Matt Connolly. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about the Tigers ahead of their matchup with Syracuse on Friday. Matt, before we get into everything, how was your past week? How did the bye week go for you?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Had a good time. I went to Fallford, Greenville over the weekend with the family and ran into some Clemson fans. So that was fun to just kind of hang out in Greenville for a little bit and have a bye weekend to watch some games and kind of hang out. So had a good time. How about you?
Wow, you talked about watching some games this past weekend. It was insane, man. Oklahoma beating Texas, Arkansas going for two to try to beat Ole Miss, and then capped off with Texas A&M beating Alabama. It was just a great day for college football on Saturday. As for my bye week, I got to go to Myrtle Beach, spend a couple of days there, saw 2022 wide receiver commit Adam Randall in action, was really impressed with his play. We'll talk a little bit more about him later on in the show, but yeah, it was great to get refreshed, get ready for this upcoming weekend. I know Clemson's players did the exact same thing as well. They went home, they took some vacations, some went fishing. It was just a great relaxing, few day stretch for them. What did you think about hearing some of those guys and what their mentality is now heading into this matchup with Syracuse after the bye?
Yeah, so we talked to DJ Uiagalelei today. He was someone I was obviously really interested to hear from, and it was interesting. He said that he went back to California, spent time with his brother, spent time with his mom, went and watched his brother play football. He called him the best recruit in the country. So I know Clemson fans are hoping that Mateo will come join DJ in Clemson as well. But yeah, he said it was good for him just to get away for a few days. He talked about that and his trip and just feeling refreshed now, getting ready to go play at Syracuse on Friday. So I think it was good for him to get away, good for him to just kind of relax and not think about football for a little bit and just come back now ready to get to work.
All right, so in my opinion, DJ, out of all the players on Clemson's roster right now, is the one who needed this break the most, just because of the position that he plays, the weight, the pressure that comes with it. Not only that, DJ in the two games where he really stood out last year against Notre Dame and Boston College, and then eventually, earning sponsorship deals with Bojangles and Dr. Pepper. There was just a lot of pressure on this young man, and I didn't even mention the fact that he's succeeding Trevor Lawrence, who's the number one overall draft pick earlier this year. Would you agree that DJ, out of everyone on Clemson's roster, is the one who needed this break the most?
Yeah, I do. I do think it was good for him to just get away and clear his mind a little bit. It was interesting too. So he was asked about kind of this. We talked to him right after the Boston College game, but this is the first time we really talked to him since he's gone back and watched the film and kind of studied what went right, what went wrong. And I thought it was interesting that there were 6 throws in his head that he could remember just details of, exactly what the play was, when it happened, all that kind of stuff that he missed. You asked him, or maybe not you, but I know someone asked him about kind of going out on the field after the game. You were out there and took some photos and some video of him just kind of working on some of those throws. And he said that it was important for him to get back out there as soon as the game ended, go back through the whole process and the motion and everything, and just make sure he could make these throws and kind of get that right rhythm in his head of what he needs to do. So I thought that was interesting that he kind of went through every single throw and just, said, hey, I've got to be better. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. He said that he feels like the offense is close. He feels like he's close to turning things around. And I think he's hopeful, and the rest of the team is hopeful that getting away for a few days and just getting to rest and relax and kind of sit back and watch football will be good for him come Friday night in Syracuse.
So obviously when Clemson's players, including DJ, say that they believe they're close, especially on offense, to turning things around, it has to be what they're seeing in practice, because what we've seen on the field thus far, there hasn't been really much of an indication that they're going to be able to take that next step. Yes, I know they put up over 400 yards of offense against Boston College, over 200 rushing, over 200 passing, but it just still feels like, especially in that passing attack, there needs to be more done in order for it to be operating at the level that we're traditionally accustomed to seeing Clemson operating at. Do you believe that's the case? Do you believe that when they say they're close, it's mainly because of what they've seen in practice, not necessarily what we've been seeing in the games thus far?
Yeah, I think in some ways, but I also do see where there was some improvement against Boston College. I know we kind of talked down a little bit about 200 plus rushing and 200 plus passing, but they were getting around 200 yards a game before that total offense. So definitely some improvement. I think DJ, he did some good things in the running game. He said that there were a couple of runs he wishes he would have had back as well, or maybe some other opportunities. But he did some good things in the running game. I thought Kobe Pace was really effective. I thought Phil Moffitt came in and did a nice job providing a spark. The offensive line as a whole, I thought played much better this game. Matt Bockhorst, I think, is much more comfortable at guard, and that's probably where he'll stay for the rest of the year. So I did see some things to build on with the offense. Obviously, I think DJ was 4 of his last 16, 4 of his last 17, something like that. It wasn't good over the final 3 quarters. He got off to a pretty hot start, but after that really struggled. So definitely a ton to improve on. And I think that, some of what has him excited is from practice. But still, I did see some things in the game that I think give them reason for confidence.
So I should probably rephrase here. I meant in terms of improvement, punching it into the end zone, because they settled for 4 field goals. BT Potter, who DJ gave praise to for going 4 for 4, he had a pretty strong game, but you only get 1 touchdown. You had one where you were within the 5-yard line, within 5 yards of scoring. It just felt like in terms of punching it in the end zone and capitalizing on those drives, they're not quite there yet. What do you feel like needs to be done going forward in order for them to convert those field goals into touchdowns?
Yeah, for sure. And kind of sticking with that, I mean, that's what Jordan McFadden, Clemson's starting left tackle, said today, was that, he feels like they're really close. And the thing that they have to do is just convert and finish drives with touchdowns. I mean, they had so many chances when they kind of got near the end zone, got near the red zone where they came up short. I think about the 2nd and goal from the 3, I think it was, and you don't score a touchdown there. You've got to come away with a touchdown in that situation every single time. They had some errant passes or pass interference on the offense that pushed them back even further, that kept them out of the end zone at times. So a lot of just small mistakes that they keep doing, missed throws from DJ. And, we already talked about some of those, but he missed some opportunities. So, I think, when we say that they're getting close, I think that you're seeing some of the progress. You're seeing them do a better job in the running game, which is opening up some things in the passing game. But you have to finish these drives off with touchdowns, and the DJ just has to make some more of these throws. And look, receivers need to help him out too. There were way too many balls dropped. Joseph Ngata had a chance to put the game away against Boston College late with a couple minutes left and had a ball go through his hands. So definitely it's not all on DJ, but definitely room for him to improve and the whole offense as well. I think it's encouraging what they're seeing, what we're seeing. I think it's all encouraging, but at the same time, plenty of room for growth, and it starts with just finishing some of these drives.
All right, so we're not going to do our full game preview of the Syracuse game just yet. We're going to be saving that for Thursday. But this Clemson Tigers offense has not scored more than 19 points in regulation against an FBS team all season long. Syracuse, on the other hand, allowed 40 points to Wake Forest. They allowed 33 points to Florida State as well. What would be the ideal number you want to see Clemson hit in terms of points scored this upcoming Friday in order for you to feel like, okay, they've kind of turned things around?
Yeah, I think if you get 24, 27, I wouldn't say that's necessarily turning things around, but I just think that that's enough to win the game. Syracuse has been really good on offense this year, have been particularly good running the ball, but they also haven't seen a defense anywhere near Clemson's level. So I think Syracuse has given up some points. They've been much better defense. Really, they've been much better all around than they were a year ago. This was a pretty bad team the last couple of years, but they've been much improved this year on both sides of the ball. I think the defense has some guys that are really talented, flies to the ball, does a nice job. And then offensively, they just really got it going with their running game. So I think if you score 24, 27 points when you have Clemson's defense, you have to feel pretty good about things and feeling like you can get a pretty comfortable win.
Matt, Clemson is in the luxury position to overlook any teams right now, but it's kind of hard not to. You have Syracuse, a team that, as you mentioned before, has not traditionally been, a team that you're concerned about in the ACC. And now you got Pittsburgh, just a high-scoring offense. Kenny Pickett, the quarterback there, is absolutely lighting each opposing defense on fire. Do you think that they're maybe a little bit concerned that Clemson could look ahead to that Pittsburgh matchup and not take Syracuse as seriously as they should?
I don't think so, just because I don't think Clemson's in a position at this point to overlook anyone. Clemson went up to Syracuse a few years ago on a Friday night and got beat when you had Kelly Bryant get hurt. You had some other guys go down with injuries. It was just an ugly game. Clemson didn't play well, turned the ball over. Just about everything that went that could go wrong did. They lost that game. I'm sure Dabo's bringing that up over and over and over again this week. Syracuse has played Clemson close in other years, even the year Kelly Bryant transferred and Trevor Lawrence was the starting quarterback, and then Kelly Bryant leaves and Chase Bryce has to come in and save the day after Trevor Lawrence gets injured. I'm sure Dabo's showing clips from those games, showing all these mistakes that were made, showing the environment that they're going to be facing. Syracuse is a tough place to play. I went there a couple years ago, and it gets pretty loud. That wasn't a very good Syracuse team there a couple years ago, but it was still pretty loud. The crowd was really into it. Fun atmosphere. So, I think it'll be a tough environment. This is a Clemson team that struggled on the road the first time. Went on the road this year. Went almost 3 quarters without a first down there, other than through one pass interference penalty. So, I think Clemson isn't really in a position to overlook anyone. Obviously, that Pitt game is huge, but they've got to worry about taking care of business first with Syracuse, or that Pitt game doesn't mean a whole lot. I mean, if you get a couple losses with the way the ACC is unfolding right now, and you go and lose this one, that Pitt game, you could be looking at a 8-4 season, even if you somehow win that one. So I think Clemson just needs to take it one at a time, focus on Syracuse right now, and I don't think it'll be a concern with them overlooking them at all.
All right, Matt, showing off a little bit of that memory there, recalling some plays from a few years ago. Like to see it. Really like to see it.
I'm remembering some and I'm forgetting some. I'm getting pretty old, so I'm doing the best I can over here.
Great job under pressure, Derek. Great job under duress. Let's shift on gears now over to what James Skalski, veteran linebacker, had to say about this upcoming matchup. I was there for the full time with the media, on Monday, and he pretty much just said that Syracuse isn't a team to look past. They're going to be a tough challenge. They've got a really great running backs group. Quarterback can make something out of nothing. Garrett Schrader can make something out of nothing. So they're definitely taking Syracuse seriously. But that's not the part of the press conference of our time with him that really stood out. It was when he said that he feels a little bit disrespected that Clemson isn't ranked right now in the top 25. He talked about them losing to Georgia, the number 1 team in the AP top 25 poll, losing to NC State in a double overtime loss. NC State is number 22. Do you agree with Skalski? I know what you're going to say, but I have to ask. Do you agree with him or not?
So I just don't think at this point in the season, when you have a team that's 3-2 and hasn't really beaten anyone of a lot of consequence and hasn't really been impressive in the wins it does have, that they should be ranked. So I don't have a problem with Clemson being unranked at this point. I do get what he's saying. I mean, Clemson, he was basically saying they've done enough around here to deserve the benefit of the doubt and some respect. And, and I do get what he's saying as well, when I think Georgia might be the best team in the country right now, probably is the best team in the country. And they played them within 7 points, played them as well as anyone has. And then you turn around and your other losses in double overtime on the road to a top 25 team. So I definitely see what he's saying, but at the same time, I think you have to win some more games. So, man, I was excited for you to kind of get to experience the Clemson disrespect card that we've seen that for a long time around here. That's usually when Clemson's at their best, when they're feeling disrespected and can kind of play that up some, and no one believes in us and we're not ranked and we should be and all that kind of stuff. That's usually when Clemson's pretty dangerous. So we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, that was pretty typical Clemson players, and I'm sure that's a message Dabo was giving them as well. Is everyone thinks we're done, no one believes in us.
Yeah, I'm not expecting Skalski or any members of Clemson's football team to approach this with non-rose-colored glasses here. Obviously, they're going to be supporting their team. They're going to be saying that they should be ranked, at citing the resume that they have and the 2 losses being against tough opponents and difficult environments. But look, the difference between being unranked and being ranked is beating one of those two teams, and winning one of those two matchups. That's just the honest to God truth. You've got to win one of those. The NC State game more specifically. If you win that, potentially a top 15 team, would you? I think that would be pretty accurate to say that they lost to Georgia, beat NC State on the road, even if it was a close game, that you would have to consider Clemson to be a top 15 team. I don't think top 10, but they would be around that range.
Yeah, possibly top 10, though. I mean, I think they'd still be in the playoff conversation if that happens. But look, it also, it doesn't matter a whole lot right now in early October where they're ranked or any of that kind of stuff. I think probably the best case, we heard from some players today saying that, you never know what could happen when teams start losing and maybe they can get back in the playoff conversation and all that. I don't think that's going to happen necessarily, but look, Clemson still has a shot at a New Year's Six bowl, and I think that's kind of what you're focusing on and playing on right now is just trying to get a New Year's Six bowl bid, try to win the ACC championship, and those are definitely still on the table. So I was a little surprised to hear Skalski say that he felt disrespected with that, just because I think Clemson typically, and it's been Dabo's message for years, is they don't really care about the polls, particularly in October. I mean, when you're talking about at the end of the year and it really matters for things, it's a little bit different. But at this point in the season, it's not a big deal.
Yep. So the rankings right now don't matter. Clemson's focus needs to be on going 7-0 the rest of the regular season, and then potentially making the ACC championship, winning that, and like you said, making it to a New Year's Six bowl game. They can only control what they can control. And Skalski did say that, toward the end of his time with the media, he said that 3-2 is behind them. That record's behind them. They just need to focus on Syracuse and going forward. So we'll definitely be looking forward to that matchup. It's going to be a good one, potentially a much closer game than we initially thought, at least heading into the season. So we'll be keeping our eyes on that and having a full game preview on Thursday, as I mentioned. And before we wrap up this show, talk a little bit about what I saw from Adam Randall. Matt, I don't know if you had a chance to see the film breakdown I did, but I got to see Adam. I really came away impressed with who he is as a wide receiver. Reminds me a lot of Joe Ngata, just a big, strong dude, a lot of strength in his upper body, can carry defenders, it requires at least 2 tacklers to get him down, at least at the high school level. Did excellent job in his comeback routes. He would sell the go route really well, cut back, chop his feet at the top of his route well, and then make his way to the sideline. So I was really impressed with what I saw. I think he's going to be a really good addition for Clemson's wide receivers group. I want to kind of throw it off to you. From what you've seen from Adam, what you've kind of heard from him, what do you think about the type of player and person that Clemson's going to be adding in January?
Yeah, I think he's has a chance to come in and help right away. I mean, I think Clemson, I think that we all thought that this receivers group was going to be really, really good, and it maybe hasn't lived up quite to what we were expecting to this point. So, I think going into next year, there's plenty of opportunities for guys to come in and have a chance to help right away. I think Adam's definitely capable of doing that. I think, and you mentioned this, I believe on our message board Friday, you'd like to see him improve as a blocker. Is one area that he needs to work and just be more committed to that. And I think that's understandable for just a high school player who's, trying to get used to doing all that kind of stuff and getting better without the ball in his hands. But I think that's an area where Clemson really needs to work and focus on here the second half of the year. So I'm sure that Clemson's coaching staff is preaching that to him. But yeah, from everything I've heard, from everything I've seen, just great hands, ability to go up, make some tough catches, and a guy that'll be able to come in and have a chance to help right away. I think that with him, with Nathaniel Joseph, with a couple of guys already on the field and already at Clemson, and Bo Collins and Dakari Collins and Troy Stellato, whenever he gets out there, I think that the future of Clemson's receiving core is really bright. But yeah, excited to see him when he gets to Clemson for sure.
Yeah, and you mentioned blocking, which is something that I brought up. It wasn't something where I felt like Randall's incapable of blocking, that he doesn't have it in him. It's just he didn't really approach it with that intensity and aggressiveness that you would like to see. He kind of waited a little bit and was a little bit more reluctant to block, which when it comes to blocking, you have to assert your dominance at the point of attack. Essentially, you have to go up to the DB, engage and establish that you're going to win that rep. You're going to continue to dominate them throughout the rest of the game. And Randall just didn't do that. I don't know if he's necessarily incapable of doing so, but would like to see some improvement there. But overall, I came away really impressed. I would also like to highlight, since we're talking about Clemson's wide receivers group, Andre Green Jr., big time wide receiver target for him. I wrote a piece on ClemsonSports.com on Monday talking about Clemson's top 5 most wanted remaining targets in 2022. I put Green at the top of the list. I mean, just in my opinion, they need to win this battle. They need to sign 2 wide receivers in this class. They've made it abundantly clear. They're kind of keeping Antonio Williams and Wesley Grimes, a Wake Forest commit, warm right now, but the primary focus is Green Jr. We're going to be seeing if he takes an official visit to Clemson. That would likely be November 13th against UConn, since his team does play on Saturday, October 30th, which is Clemson's next home game against Florida State. So, he was someone I mentioned. I also put Trevor Etienne, a younger brother of Travis Etienne. I put a few defensive linemen on that list as well. Curtis Perry, Marvin Jones Jr., the number 1 overall player on 3. And also threw in Oscar Delp. I know that was one that we had talked about it before I posted it. I gave you my list, and, you were like, maybe Delp shouldn't be on there. Maybe he should. What did you think of my inclusion of him on that list? Or would you have replaced him with someone else?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely belongs on the list as far as a guy that Clemson definitely wants. I just think we both think it's probably not too likely at this point. I think Clemson's staff also feels like it's not very likely at this point. So, but yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the 5 guys that they really want, he definitely belongs on the list, because that's someone that they certainly were after. So, yeah, just encourage you all to check us out on ClemsonSports.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we have lots of podcasts, interviews, and breakdowns like this, as well as Joseph's film reviews that he does with recruits. And subscribe to that. Follow us on Twitter, and just come to us for all your Clemson coverage. Joseph, you got anything to add?
No, Matt, not really. I mean, you once again, for the second time in a row, you jumped me on that plug, and I always love plugging in those social media and that great deal that we're running. But you got ahead of me. You jumped me on that one, but I'll beat you to it next time. I promise you that. The only thing
you're probably better at it.
Yeah, no, you did a pretty good job. I'll give you praise for that. You've been studying the film there, on how to do it. So great job to you on that, Matt. But before we sign off here, I also do want to let you all know I'm going to be in Georgia from Tuesday to Thursday, maybe Friday, maybe taking a trip to Alabama as well. Going to try and talk to some of Clemson's top targets in the 2023 class: Justice Haynes, Caleb Downs, Ethan Nation. So really be on the lookout for that. We're going to be having that up on ClemsonSports.com throughout the week, and also parts of next week as well. So as Matt said, sign up. Follow us on our social media. Until next time, thank you all for tuning in, and stay safe. Thank you.